Welcome to Allegedly Higher, where humor, insight, and passion collide with higher education. Hosted by Dr. Erin and Dr. Candice. Join them as they dive into headlines, interview leaders, and challenge norms. From dismantling systems to championing equity, this podcast is your go-to for transforming the ivory tower. Let's get into it.
All right, there we go.
No, this is our third time's the charm, y'all. Welcome to Allegedly Higher. I am your host, Dr. Erin. This is my lovely co-host, Dr. Jackson. Welcome. And if you are new joining us, thank you so much for choosing to press play, whether on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We really do appreciate you, and we hope that you stay during the whole episode. So Allegedly Higher is the podcast where we explore pop culture topics and we explore higher education with a human-centered lens and a little bit of humor, a little bit of sophisticated humor.
Yeah.
So really, you're all just taking a sneak peek into our private conversations as colleagues and friends, our texts, her TikTok DMs to my IG DMs. And we're very excited to have you all on this journey. And we welcome you to our conversation. We want you to join in. So follow us on, YouTube, leave us a comment. Yeah. You can also comment on if you're watching on Spotify, listening or watching on Spotify. But please follow us on IG. Let us know. Send us a DM when we do posts and post consistently. Post some comments under there too. Oh Lord, if you can't tell, we are all tired. July has been a whirlwind.
Don't even, for me, July is a wash. Like it is.
Done.
We're preparing for the Jackson Film Festival, for which I direct, and we had a full week of showings. We celebrated the 50th anniversary of Good Times. We had Bernadette Stannis. Shout out to her. She is a lovely person. She's now in the family business, if you're watching that. But to have the one and only Thelma in Jackson was amazing. It was amazing. And so between screenings and the awards gala, which you had a chance to come back to this year.
It was lovely. Last year sold out before I can buy my tickets. So I was sitting at home. And this year I was able to bring my mom and sister and make it a girls' out. They had a good time.
I'm so glad. We're always stressed and be like this to make sure everything is right. So now I'm getting ready for a new academic year.
Yay! I probably should be, but I am not.
I'm blinking for help. Okay. All right. So
I know you see her title, hired admin fugitive. She ran to the classroom.
Yes.
But she's still undercover.
I advise from the bushes.
Yeah. So, July was from our meetup, the 3rd of July to the end of July with the film festival. I don't remember what happened in between there. I did take my unplanned sabbatical. I just think it was the middle of the year. I have been going. So if you've been following us, I have been working on my own for a year. A year made August 1.
Wow.
So when I think back, I think my body and my mind just like blinked out. After that meetup, I have been running a year-long race. Like I literally have been running 2 businesses because I have an executive coaching business and the higher consulting, and just trying to figure out life, this new life, unprogramming myself from a 9-to-5, unprogramming myself from, the crazy summertime of orientation and all of that stuff. I just think July just was a blur, right?
It's a blur. It's hot. It's tiring. It's physically exhausting. It's mentally exhausting, and so you do have to do a reset. And you're absolutely right. A reprogramming about the 9 to 5, the hustle of that, and getting ready for the next semester. Because for educators, July is not a happy month. June is, but July, it means that we're just closer to the beginning of the foolishness. And since I'm in the thick of it still.
And it seems like school is starting earlier and earlier. I
Yes.
think little kiddies, we've been on my timeline, in my group chat, we're talking about first day of kindergarten and first day, kindergarten these days have like first days, like first half day, first time stepping their foot in the classroom, first full day, first full week. They don't get their first full week to the end of the month, but I digress.
Yeah.
Not like I have a kindergarten.
I just think that we we start them earlier, and I always want to make sure that when we're doing things like that we're doing them substantively, so that it means something. If you're gonna put them in school the first week of August, as opposed to after Labor Day, like
the rest of you
Lord intended, like the Lord intended after Labor Day, that because children need rest too. They're tired. And they really we're not paying enough attention to that, I think.
Yeah. I think everybody's tired. I just feel like everybody needs a break from work and school. But you can't, so the kids have to go to school early, right? Because parents have to work. Like they don't get a break. You can't take off just to have some downtime. You don't, the help isn't there. So yeah, shout out to parents who are getting ready for school and school shopping.
It is a hustle every morning. It is a hustle for them. When you're not ready. I think every school, every job ought to have meditation rooms, a place for people to get away. I think they should be able to have mental health days and not have it counted against them. Or you've got to be able, if you want the best out of someone, no matter what their age, you've got to give them time to, as you introduced me to the phrase, they have to have the cognitive rest. They have to have the downtime. I'm learning about ADHD paralysis. I acknowledge it when I have it. And I play a game, or even in the moments where I probably shouldn't be, and where the world is crashing down around me, and I will zone in on merging things and Candy Crush, and I need a mental health day.
Yes. So July was I wish it could have been a true cognitive rest. That's my goal, is to have true cognitive rest, but have money coming in at the same time.
That part.
Not at that stage yet.
That part.
So I couldn't have true cognitive rest because
because we have to pay for apples.
Yeah. If you don't work, you don't eat.
That's right.
So technically, I should be getting ready because I am actually working on getting myself out there, putting my first 2 books in the hands of first gen students, or all students actually, but particularly first gen. Catching a new DI semantics wave. I'm gonna play along even if I don't agree with it. So yeah, we're gonna catch this first gen wave of
tell the people what your books are, so if they're looking for them, they can
I should have them. Like, do I have one close by me? That's so trash, Erin. It's so trash.
Well, we both are. We've got, but I will say,
I cleaned up my office. Y'all can't see. I cleaned up my office. That was part of my.
And that's why I always have a background, because my office is not clean. But check out her Go Wiser,
and Live Wiser.
And Live Wiser. One thing I will tell you, and I continue to say this about particularly Live Wiser, is that I wish I'd had that book when I started out as a professional. Like it's the best, it would have been the best graduation gift or junior year gift to kind of prepare. Like that's because it's so real. It's real talk about money, finances, life, love, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
What do you do? Yeah.
It's been 7 years. I'm looking at the date now. It's so crazy.
Oh my God.
So 7 years ago, I set out to write a book. At that point in time, I was like, I haven't done anything to warrant me writing a book. And God was like, yeah, you went through, there's people that haven't, you've gone through some things that people or need to learn from. And so that's what inspired my Go Wiser, spelled the Louisiana Go, the Cajun Go, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not just the regular Go. And I wrote it from a standpoint of if I had, like my sister's 70 years older than me, we're both first gen, but it was such a big gap. She can only tell me so much. And by the time she was in her post-grad blues, she didn't want to go back through any of that. And so I wrote it as a book of what I needed to hear coming out the other side of it. I think we're having a little bit of technical difficulties. We're back. So let's get into our hot topics going on our timeline, our news feed, and everywhere else.
Yes.
So what I have been doing, and I told myself I wouldn't, but I actually got sucked back in, and I had a good reason. I did my annual binge of Game of Thrones. It's been a different headspace every time.
Yes, anybody can get it.
But then I did that because I was like, oh, House of Dragons, I want to see all the little tie-ins because so detailed that you miss little things. So I did go back and I did catch I didn't need to see the whole, all the shows to catch it. But that's what I've been doing in my downtime. But House of Dragons has ended. I'm working through my TV trauma from Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Right. Now, if a show is canceled and they didn't know they was being canceled, I will not watch it.
Wow.
Because you're not gonna play with my emotions. You're not gonna make me invest my time, and you're not just gonna throw away.
It's disrespectful. Yeah.
This goes for Good Girls. My sister got me to watching that. I was deep into it. It got my nerves rattled anyway, because they always could not get themselves out of the hole that they dug. So every show will be like, "Oh, we're free. We're getting out of this life," and like, "No, somebody else is after us. We gotta go in." And then they had some things on set that caused the show to get canceled, and it wasn't even a piece of season. So I'm like, I don't even need to know. I'm not gonna watch it for what? It's
right. But you don't know that going in though. That's the whole point. Like you don't know.
So Game of Thrones has scarred me because it was so good. I was a late bloomer. That was one of the shows that I was able to watch after I had left the job and was consulting, exploring the first time. And that was one of my pastimes. And I was able to watch it live, right? Live and with everybody else. And then we get to the last, like, what happened?
So, and that's the thing. I didn't watch it. I wish I had watched it when it started. I'd seen one episode, but since it was so far deep. So when I got back and I was in my consulting and exploring year, they were about to embark on the last season. And it was so captivating that I binge watched it and I caught up within 3 weeks. Like I was doing season and a half a day. And I would have to you've watched 4 seasons, like you've watched 4 episodes, 5 episodes overnight. because you just let it keep playing. Just let it keep playing.
You got to.
Because you got to find out what's going to happen next, right? So you're doing almost a season and a half every 2 days. So I caught up and then there was like, I know that, okay.
Shorten the season. And the nerd in me read about how the producers, I mean, it was a long show. Everybody was tired, but they didn't put their all into the season.
Mm-hmm.
So the season,
I think we deserve a redo on that.
We do. At least 2 more. Like, it was just too quick, right? It was almost a 10-year long, 8 years, because it came out every 2 years. And then it was just like, this is it. But they were rushing to go to a Star Wars project that never happened. And I was like, see, that God don't like ugly. You gotta finish right.
You gotta do that. And the people deserve that. The actors who had given their lives, a better part of their lives to this, deserve more than the way in which even the little details of things that never would have happened in seasons 1 through 6, you just didn't have. You just
not when for 3 seasons long they've been walking the same forest for 3 seasons, right? And then one season they just happen to show off.
Right.
Intersect, like
No. So when I was so excited, I am still excited about House of Dragon. It looks like are the showrunners the same? I think they got new showrunners.
No, which is crazy to me. I think they have like one person in common, but the showrunners, they were trying to give them royalties and put them on as executive producers, and they was like, we don't know what this is gonna be. We don't want our names associated.
The lies you tell.
I was like, that's some privilege. That's some privilege right there. When you
listen, but you got a great cast of characters. The Targaryens are being Targaryens, and all that implies, from beginning to end. So, what are your thoughts on season 2 and the finale?
So this brings me to the point about the knowing the end.
I
don't think Game of Thrones, they may have known their end. I don't know what happened. I thought they knew the end. I thought they knew, okay, we're going to do this in X number of seasons. I don't know, but I think they kind of doing this a little bit different. So now that I know that this show is going to end on season 4, they already plotted it out.
Right.
I'm good with taking the ride, right? So I'm glad that the actual Dance of the Dragons is not going to happen. Because if we just take that out, the season 2 would be a disappointment. But now I know that I have 2 more seasons to figure out how we get, because we know the end. Right. They told us the end on Game of Thrones. And of course, people read the book, know the end, right? But now I know how we get to that end in 2 seasons. So I was very satisfied. I was very satisfied with, now I know why what was going on with the witch in Harrenhal, Daemon and his visions. I'm glad he stopped being Daemon.
Right. Once
10 seconds.
And it is a lesson really it's so funny that I can connect it all back to leadership, right? Because when you get out of yourself, then you can lead. When you can see the bigger picture, you can lead. And so many of our leaders don't see the bigger picture. And I think it's a classic example. That's why I wish I had watched Game of Thrones in real time, but then I'm glad I got a chance to. But it was okay because I can then reflect and go forward. But Daemon is the character who feels put upon, who feels it should have been his to begin with, and his righteous indignation about not being named the heir.
Yeah.
And he's very much like his nephew in that way, right? And so the nephew and which one is he? The Aemon, the one-eyed fool. He is. I'm sorry. That eventually he gets it. But I wish leaders would get that at all levels.
Yeah.
See the
I love the look back at Viserys.
Mm.
And it was like the people who should be in power don't want it because they respect the power. And the heavy is the head that wears the crown. Like
yes.
That whole analogy of he even his life was like he died because he cut himself on the throne. That was symbolic. Yeah. And so I like that the witch primed him because she knew Damon was not going to listen.
Right.
But I'm like, you this power hungry, you going to stay in a haunted castle? Like you wake up with blood on your hands? Every time you drink something, you lose 2 days? The table.
You'll say that, but you don't say that.
And you just gonna stay there? Like I would have ran a long time ago.
Well, how many programs and policies and practices do administrators put in place, but they're gonna dig their heels? They know it's not working, but they can't go back and say, my bad. Hey, listen, let's regroup. I thought this would work. How many of them will not take the knee, will not bend the knee and say, I thought this would work. It didn't. Let's forgive me. Let's engage and let's see if we can make this work.
I know they all look like that fool who told Damon, who turned his back on Rhaenyra. Yeah. He was the fool. Like he was like, I'm about to die. He gonna die next season sometime. He gonna die.
Right.
Damon flipped the script on it. Like you done went behind her back and trying to bend the knee to him, and he done bent the knee to her. Now you look like the fool. Now you gotta say, hey, yay, hello, Queen Rhaenyra. This is what you're trying to look for that your head to be chopped off.
Right. The first one. She said, if you ever. That
reminds us of an interaction that happened with one of our colleagues.
Which one?
He was flirting with somebody, and his little Mickey Mouse boyfriend came over to him, who happens to be from Louisiana. I love it. Was like, whispered to him, if you ever do that again.
I remember that. Oh Lord. Yes. If you ever, that's gonna be your head. But I'm glad he came to his senses. Yes.
Alicent, I'm glad she came to her senses.
Yeah, but again, I can always bring it back. The strings you pull be the ones you die by.
Hello. You done imagined, everybody's name is Aegon in the Game of Thrones. Everybody.
Right.
There's 25 of them. And you just had to think that's your son.
She didn't.
She didn't either.
She didn't. She was angry. She had been manipulated, so therefore she manipulated, and she knew what she was doing. She knew he didn't say his name. She knew who the heir was. She did not do the right thing. You pull the strings for your children, and this is what you're gonna get removed. You created these brats, and you've given them this sense of entitlement. And then you wanted them to listen to you and your father. It's not going to happen. You've given them the crown, and they weren't ready for it. Neither one of them.
Nope. It's the same thing that happened with Cersei. You created monsters. Monsters put you in your place.
Exactly.
Now you're on the outside.
And it's a lesson that we keep seeing over and over again. But I guarantee you, any string you pull for anyone who is unqualified, just because you like them or love them and they're your friend and you can kiki and ha, that will be the string you die by.
Yep.
That's it. I mean,
mother, don't you have some other domestic things to do? She could.
I always sat on the council. I've always sat on the council.
That was then. That was then. This is now. Your duties are needed elsewhere.
Granddaddy in the jail cell. Gone.
They say he's still in King's Landing.
He probably is,
Yeah.
but he was removed. You can't. I mean, it's like what this. It's like looking at Joffrey all over again. I mean, so we have the example that in reverse, that the Lannisters, and the Targaryens never learned from the history, because the search for power or a title or a position has always taken over. When someone says, "Oh no, I'm just doing this on an interim basis. I'm just here for a little time. I'm not going to
apply."
They always apply. Because the first time someone says, "Mr. President," or "Madam President," or "Madam VP," they always apply.
Oh, Eamon knew good and well that he was going to apply.
Oh yeah, right.
And made sure that all the candidate, make sure you stay down.
Right.
Oh, you said you're bending? Oh, let me put this ball right where I burnt you at.
Exactly. So I think there are always these lessons that we can learn from Game of Thrones, and even the Red Wedding of Game of Thrones. That people are not gracious, so you need to be very clear about that. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was great. But I think my favorite part was, oh gosh, I get the names all mixed up. When the one black character who has to be a stereotype. Who?
Sea Snake.
Yeah, the Sea Snake. Yeah, who has been acting like one. Got his comeuppance. Like, I knew when she said to that young to the son, "Your mother must have been beautiful." Like, you all have known this. This is not something that. So in the beginning of the season, when the boys appear, it's almost as if they know he's their father, but he doesn't, right? So you want to believe that they set it up like he doesn't know, and that they're going to then approach him later, right? And so now to find out, and I knew when she did that, I said, "Oh, they've always known."
She definitely knew. He probably didn't think she knew, but it was like, you sent this man off to sea. Yes, y'all are a great love. We saw that. But she also wasn't crazy that, he wasn't a Ned Stark. You also, you're not going to be that loyal and you're bound to have some bastard somewhere.
But of course, and then we find this out when they go round up all the Targaryen, right? So what is interesting, that even after he saves him, he still doesn't bring him in from the cold, so to speak.
No, because he knew he needed to protect assets, or he tried to.
So in that moment when the son is in this, I'm doing this is my job, this is what I do, you're not gonna help me, like that trigger. Are you trying to help me? You didn't care when I was hungry. You didn't care when I didn't have clothes. You didn't care, the trigger of, you want to help me now.
Now when all your real heirs
are gone.
Yeah.
Even the heirs who weren't really heirs are gone.
I'm not of salt and water. I am a blood and fire. I was like, oh.
Yes, give it to him. But the contrition, the final understanding that you have lost it all. And again, when she went in and she said, I will go, we knew that was the death nail for her.
Mm-hmm.
And he said nothing.
Because I think he knew she had to do what she had to do. Yeah, the queen that never was.
And then, but he was supposed to say something. He was supposed to say something. Something?
He had that dumb stance.
Well, I guess you gotta go. I guess
He goes all the way back.
I guess you gotta go. What?
All the way back to that time.
I guess we'll talk about Love and Hip Hop Atlanta later, because that's even.
Oh Lord, I don't know if I can bring myself to watch it or even do that. I don't know.
Clips on TikTok have given me like, are we really doing this again? But okay. Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
Speaking of Love and Hip Hop,
Mm-hmm.
Nelly's arrested for no insurance and 4 ecstasy pills. Why? Why? Why?
Yeah, you about to have a baby in a day now. Go home. Just go home.
Your business manager, like you to make sure you had insurance? You got all this money and you let it lapse?
Whoever was supposed to pay that bill is fired.
But also, why are you 50 some years old with ecstasy pills?
Yeah. I mean,
4.
Now he was caught in Missouri, correct?
Yeah.
If he was anywhere near St. Louis, I probably wouldn't trust the cops at that point.
I mean, that's what they said, true, because when he got arrested at the casino.
Yeah.
He's won there before where they never had to ID him to get his winnings. He hit big. I mean, $50,000, but
yeah. But I mean, all of that, and that's something that they really need to. I would think that the Justice Department would really want to look into all of these casinos who, after a big jackpot, either says it's particularly on slots or anything like that, all of a sudden the machine was malfunctioning. All of them can't malfunction.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they all say, oh, well, one lady, she won big jackpot, and these people are giving up half the chicks trying to win some more money at the casino. And she won the jackpot and they offered her like, a dinner or something. They said, oh, I'm so sorry. The machine is malfunctioning. You didn't know. I've been sitting here, all the money I put in here. I've been sitting here, it wasn't malfunctioning then, and all of a sudden it malfunctions. And that's not the first time. So I'm not as disappointed as I am, like, but you set yourself up for that. Like, you need to make sure you have insurance. You got
that's all a young man's mistakes.
And one lesson that all people should know is, and particularly those of us who have significant resources and income, is the lesson of Oprah, who still opens her own bank statement. Like, Oprah does not leave that to chance for anybody about her taxes, her bills, her anything else. She's still doing all that.
Yeah. I mean, somebody's like, I got time to watch you count my money.
Right. I mean,
I'm probably gonna hire somebody to watch you as I'm watching y'all.
And really, at this point in life, you shouldn't be paying anybody to pay your bills anyway. You don't have that many.
You shouldn't.
Just, light water. You can put on automatic draft and still make sure you got insurance.
Yeah.
We over 50, bro. Come on.
You better. Well, T.I. was arrested also under a mistaken identity. So this is that everybody, when I read the report, I heard on Breakfast Club and a couple other places, everybody had the same question. This could not have happened in Atlanta, but it did.
Who in Atlanta doesn't know T.I.?
Like, I don't care if he got the same name. The man before you,
Exactly.
he's using 10-letter words. And,
When the 2-letter one will do. But I mean, really, come on.
and a judge, he was released. The judge was like, why y'all wake me up at this time of night for this?
The king of Atlanta. Because somebody got to say.
In Baltimore, had a warrant in Baltimore. This man was from Baltimore.
It makes absolutely no sense. No whatsoever. And you would be surprised. I went to the pharmacy once. I mean, I think I was still I either just graduated, I was still in college, maybe my senior year. And the pharmacist said, "Weren't you just here?" And I said, "No." Because there was another Candice Love who had just dropped off the prescription, and it was the same prescription. The only difference was our middle initial.
Wow.
And she was an R, and I was an N. So it can happen, but all you got to do, there are clues. There are clues to let you know that things are verifiable. You can verify that this is not who you think before you put anybody in handcuffs, before you put them through any of that trauma, to verify that.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of, it's the right identity, but connected to how Game of Thrones, a lady who named her baby Khaleesi couldn't get her baby a passport because they said it was a trademark. And I think Warner Brothers owns it. I forgot who was like the deeper trademark of that. It's like
Disney.
Is it Disney? No.
I think it was Disney.
Oh, Khaleesi from Game of Thrones?
Yeah, but it depends on who the parent company is.
Oh, okay. Well, whoever said we don't care.
Right, but they had
this passport. Like names are not trademark. But somebody at the passport office was like, I'm gonna use my authority to reject this.
I mean, for real. Like first of all, there's several layers to this. Why would you name your baby Khaleesi after a character in Game of Thrones?
Oh, it's a pretty name. I wouldn't do it.
It is, but now it's associated with Game of Thrones, and Khaleesi did not have a very good end.
No, or beginning.
You could have named her Wildling.
Yeah.
They free. The free folk are free. You could have named her Wildling, but you named her Khaleesi, and it is beautiful. But not a very good end. And then somebody who says, like what? Why do you care?
Let this baby go travel the world and find her with her Dothraki.
Go find her Dothraki. Right. Yes.
Oh Lord. So yesterday, Carisha Please dropped. She probably on episode 5 with a BET award. And we struggling to get to episode 9.
Right. Okay.
Right. But you know.
And what did Carisha please, Lord, have to say?
In all transparency, y'all, I ain't watching. I pulled up the video, it said 33 minutes. I was like, this ain't even work. I'm not about to waste 33 minutes on this.
Oh my goodness.
And I feel like all the clips, I feel like even the trailer too, it told us everything we needed to know. Like I know editing to make it suspenseful.
Right.
And I saw the clips on IG.
Did she address the Diddy situation, I think, right? That's what she talks about.
The same, I think she probably used the same caption she had when she posted previously. He said that wasn't her experience.
Mm-hmm.
The Diddy she knew was a good person. He told me to keep God first.
I'm not frozen.
He told her keep God first, and you bigger than music. You're a mogul. You're a legend. I mean, he probably told us that Janet Kane too.
Still in the love bombing phase.
Yeah.
In the
He
love
told us the Janet Kane. He told us the bass. He told us the Notorious. He told us the Faith. He told us to every person on the Bad Boy label, right? He, she was like, we benefited each other.
What did you post?
It was very rehearsed. You can tell her and Salty.
Because she's
Not
been
have
named in paperwork, right? She's been named in documents.
Yeah.
So this
No,
is
she said nothing about it. She can't.
right. So there was no reason. Again, you were baby girl. You were still in the love bombing phase, and I can say this as somebody who is almost half 100.
I wouldn't have said anything. Nothing.
Be quiet.
Puff Daddy who?
Me know
My friend.
You don't know him. I do not know him.
So I feel like she could have, like, it got 1 million views on YouTube, but it wasn't.
Because, well, at least she got a check.
Like, it wasn't candid. It was
Right.
very rehearsed. It was all the questions from your friend.
She got it for the views so that YouTube could cut her a check.
And I actually,
where else is she getting income from?
Yeah, I mean, get your money, boo boo. We still trying to get above $100.
It's okay. It's okay.
I'm not gonna hate. I'm not gonna hate at all. But there's no Barbara Walters interview. Rest in peace. Not even a Gayle King. It wasn't even a. I'm fighting for my life. It was.
Sit down, Carisha. Sit down, Carisha.
None of those things. If it so happens to autoplay on my YouTube, I might listen to it, but I'm not pressing the button.
No. Okay.
Much to say other than thank you, God, you giving us hope with Harrison Walls.
Yes.
I think this is a very good ticket. I'm gonna have faith in humanity again, that people want to do the right thing regardless of party. And
so let me say this. One, Biden is still doing his job.
Oh yeah.
And
wait, he's what I expected when he got released.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear more of old Custon Joe Biden.
Yes.
He got nothing to lose right now. I'm old and I ain't the president no more, and I ain't got to keep up appearances. When he went, was that Lester Holt?
The
interview with Lester Holt, he was like, he leaned up, he was like,
what you mean? He's still scrappy. He's still the scrappy, Scranton, Pennsylvania kind of boy. But, I can appreciate how hard that was for him.
Yeah.
I became aware of Biden. Yeah, I became aware of Biden when he did the Anita. He was over the Senate committee for the Anita Hill testimony, and he was very respectful. He did the best he could at the time. Again, you have to also, some of those things you have to deal with the times. And because the world was not kind to Anita Hill at that time. But he's always been a straight shooter, and he's always tried to do the best that he could for the American people. So I know that was very difficult for him. And I know a lot of people are worried about whether or not I feel new hope going into this new selection. But I will say this, and I'll say it again and again. I would have voted for Biden if he had the death rattle on election day. He could have been transitioning to go home to the Lord. He could have died the day before the election and they couldn't fix the ballots. I would have rather voted.
I would have voted for Jimmy Carter right now, and he is still in hospice.
Thank you.
God ain't ready for him either. I don't know what is going on, but God ain't ready for him. His place ain't prepared yet.
I will vote for a dead Democrat before I vote for Trump.
It's about 1,000 people I would vote for.
I mean, it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter. I would vote for a dead Democrat before I vote a Republican at this point. And I think even the Republican Party's selection of JD Vance is problematic. It's not giving what they thought it would give.
I don't know what they think anymore.
I think they thought Young was gonna give a little balance, but he sounds like he's off his meds half the time. And so and I've seen Hillbilly Elegy, right? I've seen it. And there's no way someone who grew up like he grew up should be so anti-humanity.
Yeah.
Point. There's absolutely no way. And so that's a level of self-hate that I don't think recognizes and
self-hate, and I just think disassociation, like you fully disassociated from your old life to start a brand new one.
Right. I mean, again, it's as if, and then of course now, if we didn't have it on the list, but if for their candidate to go to the National Association of Black Journalists.
Oh yeah, I was gonna bring that up.
Oh my God. And
I couldn't, my parents said listen to the whole thing. I couldn't. I've been protecting my peace.
Right. You have to. Yeah.
I've actually blocked Facebook and Instagram. I've limited myself to 30 minutes. And there's a sweet spot that I forgot when it is. And so usually I've gone until today, I had to do, research, and I actually had to log on to my desktop in Instagram to watch it. But I couldn't watch that.
The clip that I saw when he said, she just, Kamala just became Black, and she was Indian. So and JD Vance is married to a woman of Indian descent, or Nikki Haley, that matter. Like, what are you talking? Nikki Haley just became white when she decided to go into politics. I don't know what to tell you. You can't say some of the things that he's saying, and then for JD Vance to be married to a woman who is of Indian descent. How do you reconcile that? How do they reconcile that in their minds? I have no idea. But
well, that's the whole party. I mean, Mitch McConnell don't show his wife all the time.
No. Who's and the fact that she's a Republican, and again, the things that he said about immigrants, and Mitch McConnell's married to an immigrant or from an immigrant family. I just again, it boggles my mind. I think that it's gonna be really funny to see Waltz and Vance debate, even more so. We know the train wreck.
That's an unfair fight. That is.
It's going to be
so unfair, but I'm gonna be there. That's one I will.
That's the one I want to watch. I mean, we know what Vice President Harris is going to do. She's going to eviscerate the Republican candidate.
She's gonna skip out. She's gonna skip out.
Because it's going to be something about some of what she says, and then others going to be that I'm waiting for those facial expressions that will just become memes of the ages. And because she's already given them to us once, she's going to do it again, and it's going to be grander. So I wait. Now I will tell you this: DC is already sold out, but I already have my hotel room. So
do you really?
I do. I got my hotel on the announcement was made on Sunday. On Monday, I was at Tougaloo College at the festival and got on this little device right here. And
I know I missed both of my inaugurations. My mom is gone. I think she went to the second inauguration.
No, but I now if I'm go to the room, I can always cancel it. I got no time. But yeah, I got the room. I just got to get the flight now. So, I mean, listen, a Black woman, Sarah, for me. We will be insufferable. Do you mean
we're gonna let y'all have it? We're gonna let y'all have it.
Listen, y'all need to get t-shirts that say, Delta for Harris, and make it like pink really.
Oh, it's already created. It's already created.
Sure. So we just need, hey, all
We're
the
gonna let y'all have it. We're gonna let y'all have it.
Alone.
Y'all got 8 years. Y'all got 8 years.
But
8 years.
I am looking for a pink full length fur. It doesn't have to be mink, but mink like. I am looking for it because I will be. It will be cold, but I do need a full length.
Insufferable. Insufferable.
We will be. I'm sorry. We just accept it now. But I already got my hotel.
Insufferable. Y'all change gonna change.
Baby.
Insufferable.
My president is my sword. No, listen. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Lord have mercy. Okay. But I accept it. I will accept it. I might put on a little pink, my red, like a fade, red fade to pink. I might acknowledge our lineage, our history. But yeah.
Our shared history.
I actually added some I haven't bought it out to the public yet. Mm-hmm. But I actually have a little Harris some things I put in my Etsy shop. I created a vintage shirt. Okay. With the slogan, I eat no for breakfast. So I have pins, I have a shirt, sweatshirt. I'm gonna add some other things. Okay. I had a little creative,
burst of energy.
Yeah. And our last story, which takes us to our higher ed segment, still pop culture. My God. So this family investigation.
Wait. I have to say, you can't say my God. You have to say it like one of my favorite TikTokers, Terry I think he's out in Dallas. My God today. So, my God today.
This FAMU investigation. I hate that we gotta keep reporting on this because it's FAMU. I hate it. I try to balance it between PWI, all of higher ed issues, very general. But this just keeps poking out.
Yes.
I keep shoving it back in, but it keeps poking out. FAMU investigation of this this donation scam revealed they spent $15,000 courting him. And my bottom line, I'm reading this and I'm like, if the Academic Success Center or Student Affairs needed money, they would say they didn't have it.
Right. But they spent
$15,000. They couldn't buy. They can't even. Yeah, they won't even buy pizza because Title III don't allow for.
So get you started. You just got flashback triggered. You just got
it because it's so crazy how you can come up with money for foolishness all the time. And we do have grandiose things, right? We got to do investitures, and we got to do all of that. We don't have to, but we do.
Right.
But when it comes down to
student success,
investing the real money in student success, hard funding, real money,
right?
We don't have it.
They'll make students try to save it.
They don't. What y'all need all of this for? Like Real Housewives of Potomac, Giselle. Oh, you did all of this. What do y'all need all of this? $15,000
to bring a millionaire to campus to give you $1 million.
This is something that I just if you read it, it'll say he was supposed to have a 2-day visit, but he kept extending it. Y'all knew he was mooching then. And yet you just gave him a free trip to Tallahassee. Private security. Private security. That was probably the bulk of it.
You know what? Fam, you should have just gotten the Peter Pop off water. They just should have gotten the Peter Pop off miracle water. That would have paid back more than this bull. He just got a free vacation. He just scammed FAMU.
And then he goes on to ask for tickets to one of their classic games. He was like, "Oh, I thought I should be good enough to sit with the president and all the rest of the administrators in the suite." And then he was like, "Oh, so you're gonna pay my way?" And they was like, "We can't do that." He didn't show up.
They spent but I still you spent $15,000 to court somebody to give you millions.
If you were a philanthropist, you would understand the need. Only a scammer would say, "Let me see how much I can get out of them." But a true philanthropist would have shown up on his dime. One, he wouldn't have time to court. You don't need a week to court somebody unless it is ego and arrogance. And I'm saying this as a fundraiser, as an executive director.
Right.
The crazy ones won't have the ego and want you to beg, especially a black to a white. But this is a black to a black, right? But it's still an ego associated where I got something and you won't, and I can smell the desperation. If I wanted to give you money, I didn't need to even see your people. I might have just, hey, let me go on the website, look at your goals. Let me talk to a couple. But if I really want to have that money to give it away, he could have sent that on wire transfer.
Right.
And you wouldn't even have to see my face.
Bloomberg just gave what?
$500 million
to Howard's med school.
It's a couple other med schools. He gave to a couple med schools.
So, and I know, and that's significant. He's probably been on the campus. He didn't require them to spend any money.
No.
I mean, that they should have
smelled it. They should have smelled this from the first email, the first phone call.
But when you pull strings, when you hire from the family reunion, when you don't vet, when you don't check references on book and off, this is what you have. When you are picking people who make you feel good as opposed to somebody who's going to do the work and do it with fidelity. That's another trigger for us. With fidelity, then this is what you're going to get. Now, unfortunately, I'm sure somebody made a phone call, and whoever that VP was, and of course the president, you all were so in the ego of this is going to be a great thing that you didn't count up you didn't see the red flags coming. And we do that in higher ed, particularly in our section of higher ed, in Black higher ed. That's what they can smell it. They'll use you by the time, you open your eyes, everything is done. There's a East African saying, this is the colonizer or the white man came over to teach us how to pray. And by the time we opened our eyes, the Africa we knew was gone. It's the same thing.
That's just crazy. $15,000 for embarrassment.
And lots of
you know what I could have done with $15,000?
Wow.
That could have been 2 years worth of programming. And I at least would have got you a retention. I would have got you at least a 2% bump in retention. And that's just minimal.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, think about the Honda Challenge All-Star team that had to scrape and serve fish plates to get to the nationals, or the Can Do Festival that you did that you all beat the bushes and you got sponsors, and some of that you did of this when you had to write this and you had to do that. $15,000 may not seem like a lot for some, but that's significant money when you're talking about student success, student engagement, even faculty development, where it would have helped. 15,000 would have sent someone to her, two people to hers.
Yeah.
For real development and networking possibility. And by the way, so for our listeners, hers is a Women in Higher Ed Leadership Institute that's at 3 locations. I think I went to Bryn Mawr, you went to Bryn Mawr. But they have one at Wellesley and Denver, I believe it is.
I think they changed it slightly, but it's still the same. Yeah.
So you get 2 weeks to really engage and lean into being a woman in higher ed. It's a great program. And for HBCUs, they give 50% or a significant discount to go. That could have really gone a long way, but you did it in your ego. That 15,000 was spent on ego to be able to say, we got this. Oh yeah, he's gonna give us all this money because it's all you heard. But all money ain't good money, and we learned that the hard way.
Yep.
So unfortunately, these are cautionary tales. The problem is that most people are not paying attention. They gotta walk through the streets naked, hollering, shame, shame.
Everything goes back to Game of Thrones. Everything goes back.
Shame. Okay. Sorry.
So, let's take a quick break.
Okay.
And we'll turn back to our real higher ed news segment.
Okay. All right.
All right. We'll be back. All righty. So we're back with our Because You Don't Have Time or Money to Read the Chronicle or Inside Higher Ed. We are going to read it for you. And this is one, they did have it was a good article. So if you go back and read this is from the Chronicle.
Mm-hmm.
They actually discussed Project 2025. And if you don't know, it is this document that I've been doing a little research on. This is not a new thing.
Right.
And I can't say that the Democrats haven't had a plan, but it is well known that this Project 2025 is really they just put a new date on it. It's been wasn't called like Project 20. It's had various names, but it's still the same conservative BS and ideology that's been pandered for the last 100 years.
Right.
That they can't seem to get back. They can't make any grounds until now. They've had some of it, which I think is scary. So whether or not there's a Republican president in office or not, we've seen that they were able to do this by the power of Supreme Court.
Right.
So this isn't, but it's a game plan. There is an article, I can't think of the name. It was actually a historian, and he's a professor. I can't think of, I want to say Temple, but it may be Penn. He's a professor at one of those universities. He's been doing historical research on this. I think he's in poli-sci, but he gave a really great breakdown. He was like, it shouldn't be. He went in and analyzed the text. He was like, most of those articles or chapters are fighting each other. Some people want EPA regulations. Some people don't. Like, they're arguing amongst each other in the same document. You can't have this, but then somebody's arguing for the opposite. So they're like, this is all chaotic. They don't know what they want, but it's a playbook for everybody else to see how they're thinking. And so I really wanted to talk about in the context of higher education. And we've had, like, of course, higher education is a very political thing. And of course, Project 2025 had a lot of implications, which again are now in some kind of way in effect now, before 2025. So first thing, of course, is oversight of federal funding. I mean, reduction of federal funding and oversight. So that means all the Title IX and civil rights protections are gone. Reduction of student aid programs, Pell Grants, any kind of federal student loans. You know, they've been fighting the student loan forgiveness for a long time. They've taken it back and forth to court, different kind of ways. So if they had their way, all of that would be gone, which I don't understand. There's a lot of white conservative students and families that will be hit too. I think they really want to take it back to where only people with a certain amount of wealth will go into this, into higher education. And in the same vein, they want to bring vocational training and workforce development back. I have no problem with that, but I do know that the poor and the minority, they're going to get pushed this despite any kind of recognition or focus on their aptitude, intelligence, or capability for higher education. And they're going to push them there regardless.
Right. I think that is what's concerning about it. Not that we're not talking that that they're trying to push workforce development. It's that will be the pathway for create class division.
Yep.
And so it won't be about aptitude. It won't be about, like you said, but it'll be about class division. And then it still won't mean like in the early 70s, in the late 60s, where, you know, a man would go or a woman go to a trade school and have their trade or the vocational training and could have a really good life. That's not what they're talking about. They're talking about creating class division, and that's what those institutions and that training will do. And they still won't be able, and you'll still look down upon right now I'm just using this as an example, the trade electrician or plumber. Whereas the plumber my plumber makes more than me an hour, but you know, whatever. Right? So, and I'm like, I'm in the wrong profession, but that won't be the case at that point. It will be a way to create limits on people's standard of living and the quality of life that they have. And so that's why we have to be very concerned about this. Now, the title, anything that does not privilege white males, they won't done.
It's done. Or help other people who are not white males get to that level.
Right.
You don't want it.
Now, and if you get rid of, so again, if you get rid of student aid, you're getting rid of diversity in higher ed. They've already tried. That means, again, we're creating hierarchies and classisms and working in those systems. But what they're going to find is that I think even the people who vote against their interest, you are voting against something that could have helped you. There's no way that J.D. Vance would have gone to college without aid. There's no way. I've seen the movie. There's no way. He couldn't have. He couldn't have. Right?
Oh,
Glenn Close did an exceptional job playing his grandma. Like, hillbilly. You never, ever. And so again, voting against your interest, why? And even with the student, with the whole issue, we talked about this before, the whole issues with the student loans. Y'all don't want to forgive the student loans. People who did what they were supposed to do, they graduated from college, you give them a loan. It's not like they're not going to spend the money.
They're going to spend the money. The other part of the vocational focus on vocational training and workforce development, that sounds great, right? Yes, I do think that there needs to be alternative pathways post higher education for students who want to go directly to the workforce.
Right.
I do believe that. But that also, for them, that means we're not putting no money into liberal arts education because liberal arts creates liberal thinking, and liberal thinking challenges us.
Right.
These people thinking, asking questions, right? So as we've seen in Florida with, I can't even say his name right because so many people have given him
DeSantis.
the Satan.
The Satan.
Yes, he's stripped. He's actively doing this in Florida.
Right.
He's stripping, like he's turned Florida's only liberal college into a puppet show.
And unfortunately, you have college administrators who don't appreciate the humanities and the liberal arts, even at liberal arts institutions.
This is crazy. It's crazy.
Shame. I mean, it's, and then you want the arts, but even that will then be this homogenous idea. You want this particular art to be this particular way. Like,
they want the arts.
I think
I don't even think they appreciate it at all.
That's probably true. I mean, this is because if I don't teach people, if I don't teach students and people to be critical thinkers, then I can just do what I want.
Mm-hmm. And you can just say stuff, or you can just say stuff as fact.
Mm-hmm.
And
what they do. Yeah, we're
just gonna believe, like, we just gonna question this. This is a verifiable lie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it really is scary.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you have things like the whole FAMU debacle, that people are not thinking critically through and can't see the red flags. Critical thinking skills need to be addressed at every level.
Yes, I wish I could have been a fly on that wall. Promotion of free speech and intellectual diversity. This whole academic freedom, gone. They don't want that at all. And of course, they're going to take every angle they could to try to have some kind of influence of what goes on in the curriculum. Of course, reduce woke. I hate that word now. Woke ideologies, which is critical race theory, all of that stuff, all of free speech. No students can protest. You have to, nobody's going to have any freedom to do so, which was the core of higher education. Well, being able to think freely, consider everybody's point of view, and formulate your own values and bases of thinking,
and agree to disagree. Like the levels of incivility on college campuses when it comes to that. What concerns me, and I've worked at both HBCUs and PWIs, is that what I found at HBCUs is that they're using the same principles against their own people. We talk this game that we want our students to be critical thinkers, globally savvy, but you want to get rid of foreign languages and world literature courses. You don't want diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging officers on your campus, but you want them to be global leaders. Well, who are in the global? Who are they? So what does that mean?
They don't think I feel like, and I may be making a grand assumption, and I hate that I have to, but I feel like the most of them, their thought process is America is the globe, which makes us look entirely ignorant to the rest of the world. And I hate being so embarrassed sometimes.
It is embarrassing.
Our way is the only way.
It is embarrassing. And I've been in situations where I have had to tell people, you're not from here. Like, I've been overseas and had to tell a young colleague, this is not home. We are the foreigners at this point. So and the response was, I'm not a foreigner, I'm an American. Girl, sit down. So it's that. And this is when I was in college. Like, I understood that even then, and how embarrassing it was to have this sort of American sense of entitlement. It is embarrassing. But again, we still want our students to be outspoken leaders and to be thought, but but you don't want it to turn as they have critical thoughts and ideas about their institutions, or faculty about their institutions, where this leads to then you dismantling faculty senates, you dismantling faculty affairs committees, you're dismantling academic freedom and shared governance, because you're just rewriting the rule book. You can't just rewrite the rule book. You can't do that. It's unethical. And most of the time it's pretty much illegal in the way that you do it. But we've got to think about, what are we showing our students about how to deal with conflict? Can we not talk about the issues? Do we always have to go into personal attacks? Are we always seeking to destroy the enemy? It's the bully culture that we have adopted. I'm going into a rant, I know, but it's this bully culture that the people who follow the Magites, who are following him, who are, that's what makes you in America to be a bully. And this is what is happening on college campuses across this country. We want diverse ideas on college campuses. You need to have safe spaces for intellectual debate and be respectful if you disagree. And just because I disagree with you does not mean that I think that something's wrong with your character as a human being. I might question you a little bit, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to destroy somebody who disagrees with me.
Yeah.
That's one of the lessons I learned from the place before is that I did not like a lot of the faculty. I can say that now. It's been how long? We've been gone how long?
7
years. Yep. Well, 7 years. I didn't like a lot of them, but I don't have to like you to not hurt you professionally. Like, people have lives and families and responsibilities. And just because you voted against me or you voted for something that I didn't agree with doesn't mean I'm going to seek to destroy you as a human being.
Yeah.
You can just disagree. And so this Project 2025, particularly as it relates to education, is going to destroy the fabric. We're living in the damn Handmaid's Tale. Like, it's literally, and you got to see it coming. And here's the thing, on HBCU campuses in particular, we have to be very careful about adopting the policies and practices of a group of people who would seek to destroy you, and they're allowing you to destroy yourselves.
Yeah, but that's been I don't know if it's a bigger argument, but it's been conversations that we've had that HBCUs always have adopted this white supremacy culture when we're supposed to be set apart.
Right.
And we buy into it and we try to measure ourselves up against it. And we're no different than a PWI theory. And we're trying to be like them, and we lose all the magic that's there to be set apart. And we have to, I think it's a fine line. It's a fine line of even how we measure excellence. We always try to use there, and that's not even we can't even compete.
And so when you have I know one institution is trying to achieve R2 status. Of course, most of those the grants and the research are all coming out of STEM. We talk about literature, the arts, and all of that. So when you're talking about tenure promotion, but you've given somebody 4 classes,
you can't.
I can't think past, okay, I got to get to the next level of Candy Crush, because I have 4 classes. I've got to grade papers. I've got, especially if they're full. And sometimes even if they're not, because you have so much more intimate relationships and mentor. So but I got to produce this amount of, we're fried at the end of the day after 4 classes. You're fried. Where my colleagues at a PWI R2, R1, they're teaching 2 classes.
Mm-hmm. And they got research assistants and TAs.
And they have time to conceptualize book proposals and book projects.
And they got the infrastructure to help with that.
Or if you do have 4 classes and you're able to do all of that, I can guarantee you that your students don't know where you are and you don't know them.
Yep. You're just a teacher on record.
So you've got to find a way to find a balance and to support and understand the need that if Dr. Candice Love Jackson meets with her students, they love her, she loves them, they're doing these wonderful things, she's put it out there for them, that is just as important as somebody who's in a lab or in the library all day. That's just as important.
Yeah.
Because students actually in college don't even realize that they're doing it for themselves. They do it for the connection to the professor that they have.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't acknowledge that, at some point, somebody somewhere in a position of power and trust has to understand that fact.
Again, it takes some thinking, critical thinking skills to get that way.
Dang.
In the same vein of research funding, Project 2025 seeks to influence how they allocate federal funding, which prioritizes research that in areas that align with conservative values and natural interests. So anything that they can't understand,
that we just do it, damn shall we?
Such as STEM fields, by reducing support for social sciences and humanities, which are deemed less essential because that research is only going to show that there's racial differences and inequities in our system, right. And you don't want to see those numbers.
Exactly.
You don't want to see.
How you gonna reduce humanities funding? That you don't give them anything as it is.
Hey, we don't want none of.
I feel bad sometimes. NEH, National Endowment for the Humanities, has a list of great grants, but they can only fund so many projects.
Yeah.
And when you have a funding acceptance rate of like 9%, 4% in some of these great grants and all the projects around the world, you got all these people fighting, and they can only fund 9% of a particular grant of the applications. You're not giving them any money.
So it's gonna be taken.
And so what it tells me is that you're not concerned about the humanity of people. You're not concerned. You want to rewrite history. Slavery is slavery. It's chattel slavery. It is not involuntary servitude. It is slavery. You can't change the book. It's not going to change what happened. And you can only deal with what happened when you deal with what you can't deal with what is now until you deal with what happened. I don't understand. You can't rewrite history.
The whole piece that we don't like it, so we don't want nobody to learn it. Like we don't even want it out there. We just want to we don't even want to shove it into a closet. We want to blow the closet up and burn the book. We don't even want to have it be documented. We don't want nobody else to read it, learn it. It is craziness. And so that goes to academic freedom as well.
As a professor, I should have the academic freedom to explore, to investigate, to have intellectual inquiry, however I see fit.
Yep. And the programs that are going to go first, that'll be your African American studies, women's studies, all that's going to go.
Studies, all
cultural centers, the DIPs, right. Tackling the curriculum. I mean, you might even have African American history course.
But and so what happens is that people will start to get it on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll go back to that, and they'll end up fighting for those centers like they did in the late 60s and the early 70s. It may take 25 years. If they do this, if this is successful, or if we don't stop this now, because it's already starting to chip in, if we don't stop this now, you'll have another modern day 21st century real civil rights movement, and it's going to be uglier than what we've ever seen before. It's just going to be uglier, and it will be the intellectual wars that will make it ugly at this point.
Was that Fahrenheit 9/11 where all the books were burned?
4/11, I think. 4/11. Yeah.
4/11? I don't know where 9/11. 4/11.
It reminds me of when you're talking about burning the books and rewriting history. Gail Jones's book Corregidora is one, if no one is heard of it or read it, it's a great book. But at the heart of it, this woman is in a bad marriage. She gets into a fight with her husband. She's pregnant. They're fighting, and she falls down a flight of stairs, loses a baby, and loses the ability to make generations and to have children. And the premise of it is that has been her reason for being, because her mother and her grandmother and her great grandmother were all the descendants of one man, and they, a slave master who was making children, and they burned the books. So the only way to keep the story and the history alive was to tell it.
Yeah.
So because they burned the books, they burned the ledgers, there is no record. The only record that they could possibly have was to keep making generations and tell the story to the next generation. And it just, when you're talking about rewriting history, how then do we keep telling our students, our children, what really happened? We have to keep telling our students and telling our children, because if you let them come home and tell you it's called involuntary servitude, and you don't say anything at the PTA meeting, at the school board meeting,
and they were happy because they learned the skill.
Yeah. I mean, we've got to fight on so many local levels, because the federal level can't even exist if you don't focus on the local. You got to go to your PTA, you got to go to your school boards, you got to do all of the things to stop it, because that's where the indoctrination, when they say, oh, well, I don't know why y'all are such in arms about it. No, and then the reverse racism and all the things. No, slavery is what it is. I am, yes, I'm race conscious. I am not racist at all.
Yeah.
But I'm very much conscious of that is a problem, because if a child of mine or in my vicinity tells me it's involuntary servitude, I am not going to be responsible for my reaction. Not. I've already been banned from some places because of my reaction. No.
Oh, Lord. And lastly, which is interesting to me, 2020 Project 2025 seeks to privatize and have market-driven approaches to higher education, meaning fueling more for-profit schools, which is really just giving more profits. It's laughable, but it's so scary. Reducing regulatory barriers for new education providers and encouraging institutions to operate more like businesses, focusing on efficiency and consumer student satisfaction, which is my gripe now. Most of the nonprofit universities are, well, they're not, there are, but they're not. They're have bad business, because if it was good business, you would focus on the customer and the needs.
Right.
So many of our institutions They don't care what the student needs. That's not our problem if they can't eat. It ain't even our problem if they don't have no place to lay their head and they can't afford on-campus student housing. It's not our problem if they're getting knocked upside their head, whether it's on our campus or not. They just that's their problem.
So let me give you who was it? This is I'll tell you a story. Picture it. Kentucky. 2016, 2017. They closed the doors to what was the name of the school? They closed the doors. For profit. Right?
I can't think of the name. It was two.
Was it two? Was it DeVry?
DeVry, and it was a nursing school, huh?
Right. So I don't think it was. Well, yeah. But anyway, we get about 70 of these students trying to, again, probably should have left that alone. We had a nursing school, accredited, ready to go, new dean of nursing. That is a fact. We're gonna pick up these students. They were, some of them, getting ready to graduate but could not pass the basic nursing exam, but they got 3.8 GPAs, they got 3.7s, some got 4.0s, but they couldn't pass the entry level, not the NCLEX, but the entry level. We couldn't even get them to take the NCLEX because they weren't ready. But they had
went through a whole program.
And they've gone through a whole program, and they're angry, rightfully so. But and I got sick of having to meet with them, but I understood their pain. Here they've been given at these, and they've been paying for this.
Lots of money.
Some of this on Second Life. They got all these loans. They've been paying out of pocket. This is their second career. They're about to graduate. And what do you mean you're going to send me back through the program? Well, because you weren't supposed to be in those classes. They just gave you all those grades. They were going to send them out
for their KPIs.
Right. They were going to send them out, take the NCLEX and fail. They were going to fail.
All they did, and no career. You couldn't even go to a nursing assistant or LPN.
No. It was painful. It is painful to know that these schools can just pop up. Or, you have to have some regulations in place, some accreditation in place. Now, as much as we talk about accreditation in higher ed, and particularly the largest regional of SAC-COC, one thing we do know is that you have to show some kind of continuous improvement to make sure that you have everything in place. You got to have the right faculty in place. You've got to have the finances to have the program in place. You've got to have, okay, so what are we doing? You got to have something. If they get rid of all of that, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. You put that in place with all these.
But this is going back to the top of how 2025 argues within itself.
Right.
If we're getting rid of financial aid, who gonna pay for this out of pocket? Now it's private loans, but loan short.
But that's what they want. They sold my loan. They sold my loan so many times. Now it's private. I never took out a private loan. Mine were always through the feds, but I consolidated. So I don't know if I was consolidating at this point with the Fed or the private, but Navient services my student loans, which makes me think that it's probably still with the feds. They say they're going over to Mohila. I'm waiting on my email from the Department of Education. Listen, y'all got my W-2. It's on record. Just, where I worked. Just erase them. Who's going to pay for that? And at 3%, because I have it on automatic bank draft, at 3%, I still pay. I have paid more in student loan debt than I owed. I am charged $6 a day, $6.31 a day in interest. A day. I put my loan at one point early in my career. I put my loan in forbearance for 3 years. It added $6,000 to my balance.
Yeah, I can't even, my brain can't even go back.
Who's going to pay? Who can pay?
Who can?
Who can pay who can pay out of pocket for whatever vocational training you're talking about if you get rid of financial aid?
And I feel like this online is going to be big businesses opening up their own school just to educate their own workforce who can't unionize. That's the other side of this.
And then that means that they can't transfer those skills or those jobs anywhere else. And it becomes slavery. It becomes slavery.
And this time it's gonna be diverse.
But it's also like in the state in the great state of Mississippi. I guess I can say that without the man coming for me. Every time that they talk about, oh, we do not want to expand Medicaid, we don't want to do this, we don't want to do that, because in their minds, even though it is illogical, Black and brown people, Black folk make up 13% of the population. How many programs do you think that it's not us? 13% of the population in this country. Those social programs that they want to always get rid of are not always all us. So every time in the state of Mississippi, when they talk about ending and all of that, when it gets to the Capitol, who do you think is standing on the steps of the Capitol? It's not us. They not like us. It ain't us. And then all of a sudden it's a throwback. So when you figure out, when you get rid of financial aid, who not going?
The middle class whites and the low.
So are we prepared? Are we prepared to go back to the one car garage with the white woman housewife who did? Is that what y'all think the good old days are?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You on TikTok? You should look up #TradWife.
I've seen. I saw the one where the poor girl got into Juilliard, gave up her whole career. She has had 8 children. All she wants is married to a very rich man who stalked her, by the way. I don't know if she knows it. She needs to blink. All she wanted was grease, and he gave her an egg apron. He gave her an egg apron for her birthday. Do you know what an egg apron looks like, Erin? It's an apron so that she can go and collect eggs on the farm. So she can just put the eggs in the apron around her so that they'll be safe and not in a basket. She can just put them in the apron. She gave up Juilliard, ballerina.
That's what all of this amounts to. Yeah.
It is truly going to be The Handmaid's Tale. So again, I give in my syllabus, election day is off. I don't care how long you have to stand in line. Don't worry about coming to see Dr. Jackson because she's going to be in the line too.
That's what I want to cover on next podcast is because the first place they're going to start disenfranchising people are going to be college students. With the mail-in ballots, all of this stuff, I really do want to get clear. I need to find somebody maybe who can come in as a guest to talk about how to help students make sure.
Right, and to already have their absentee ballots if they've already registered in their home state of their home precinct to go on and do their absentee ballots as soon as possible. Or if they register at the campus, we need to make sure that if they have not registered by the time they are freshmen, they come in, that they go on and register. But I had I was trying to explain to some students once, and I did, about why it was important to vote for the local elections and why all these things. And this one young lady, it really broke my heart. She said, well, everybody says vote, but you're the only person who's ever told us why it's important. Because they don't understand literally why it's important at the local level. So
they don't have civics anymore.
No. And it's important to me. When my grandson was very young, that would be a thing. We'd wait till, they wait for me to get off, and we'd all go and vote together as a family. So he was very attuned that that's what we did. In 2016, he asked the question, if the man is elected, are we moving to Canada? He was 9. Right? I don't know what happened then. But he was 9. And so when you don't have, you've got to engage them even at that young age to think about politics, because this is the world that they're inheriting. So I'm hoping that he'll have that same kind of imperative. My grandmother taught government and could not vote. She held a sit-in at the Department of Education in Yazoo County to teach. She taught social studies, which is huge back then. And she held her own sit-in at the Department of Education so that she could teach government and civics. But she still, at that time, still could not vote, but she was teaching government. And they don't teach it anymore. I mean, it's so that's the political stock that I come from. She could never join the NAACP or she would have been fired. But she did classes.
Yep, I think that's part of it too. In one of these policies, everybody's going to be judged on their loyalty, and all the outside stuff is going to come in, and you're going to be judged on that. Yes. Please, if you haven't, read it for yourself. It is very lengthy, but I did dive into the education part, and we will post some articles that are really good to analyze and look at both sides. But I think as whether you're higher ed staff, higher ed advocate, faculty, mentor, you have to help your students understand what's going on, make sure they're registered to vote, and be informed. Because I think technically that whole President Obama, we were college. I was graduating college. That was our time. That's who raised the $5.
Right.
He spoke to us. So their time is now. They've only known 2 presidents.
Yeah, that's true.
And for those years there are COVID and missed proms and graduations and more graduations with I think this younger generation are very savvy. And I think thanks to TikTok, they have a free, of course it's misinformation out there, but I do think they have they have a more of a breadth of information on TikTok, and they get more global news and more national news that is pretty accurate. Of course, they have some idiots on there too, but I think they have more free flowing, and they're more knowledgeable. And yeah, I think that's going to be our charge in this election as staff, advocates, and mentors, to make sure our students are able to exercise the right to vote.
And that's the thing. I want to be very clear. Even though I am a yellow dog Democrat, I even tell my students, I can't tell you who to vote for. I can't tell you ever who to vote for. the issue for me is that you vote, and that you exercise that right. And you know, as educators, yes, I will. That is a mental health day. That is a civic engagement day, for me, because I want to make sure that the lines will be long, that they have the freedom to do that, to stand in that line and not worry about, well, I got to go to class, or if they've done like they did at the last at the governor's election, they messed up the ballots at a particular highly democratic precinct, and people had to go to work. I don't want them to ever have to worry about that. If you got to stand there for the ballot, you get the ballot.
Yeah.
Charge your phone up. So we just have to be more mindful that this is not a game. They are not playing, and so we can't play either. And we have to inform ourselves. We have to inform our children, because we will be disgusted, but we'll be okay. We're getting to the other side, right?
We've been through so much.
Right. They are just now starting their lives, and they shouldn't start their lives off in oppression.
Yeah, no. Millennials have been through 9/11, Bush, Trump, Obama, COVID, swine,
right,
recessions, everything. We've been through 2 millennia, 3 sticks. Like, we've been through it all. We know how to survive.
Listen, I let's put it in the pop culture. We can probably end on a pop culture note. We have seen hip hop grow up
and fall down
and get back up again. But when we can go from Elevators, Me and You for Andre 3000 to him playing the flute, hey, listen, we've done it.
And actually enjoy the album.
I do. I think it was like meditative. It's very meditative. I love it. And then we've got, so we've got to see. My first president was Jimmy Carter. So I've run the gamut. I've seen Mississippi with a Democratic governor. We know it can happen with a good Democratic governor. So I know it can happen. We've seen the cycles. So, but I don't want our children, our students, to enter the world as adults in an oppressive state, because that's what they will think is normal, and it's not.
Yeah.
And this is not normal, and it is becoming normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's becoming their idea of normal. So that's what we're fighting against, that the inhumanity of this.
Well, as we wrap up this episode, you have any final thoughts? Anything's been heavy on your mind? You just want to get off?
Listen, make sure your kids are civically minded, civically engaged. Get back to those types of basics. Teach them how to write cursive, so you can sign financial documents. It's all organic. It's all about this. But we have to be more mindful. And some of the things that we've talked about, I've done a little rant, but be mindful of how we engage in these higher education streets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think for me, I've been most turned off, which is I don't know what, I guess it's me being older, but when President Obama was running and CNN was truly moderate, and I could see ourselves on there, and I trusted their voice. I trusted Roland and Rye, and I was like I would wake up to CNN, and it would just be like I would be excited to hear it. Now I'm like, I need to shut it off. Like, I'm happy for her. I can't be engaged in as much discourse as I like, because there's too much educated, ignorant people, or just ignorant.
You're right.
that have access, too much access. And I do, even on this podcast, want to respect the power of the mic and our impact. And I want to be accurate and valid in everything that we say.
Right.
But I really, and I have to, it's a conflict for me either to be on social media and be more vocal about what's right and the right, correct information, or just shut it all off. So I don't have to judge nobody for being publicly ignorant and sharing stuff that's, or standing 20 toes down for something that's so wrong, or just being contrary just to be contrary.
Right. I think I miss the days where the newsmen were at least reporting, and when they became stars, it changed the dynamic of how we talk about how we have this discourse, how we're watching CNN, because they started becoming stars as opposed to reporting what was happening and having some analysis and discourse, right? And having the real interviews and asking questions. And I remember there was a time when I remember seeing the video. I'm not that old, but I remember seeing the video and how my mama talked about when JFK was assassinated and Walter Cronkite broke on air. And vilified him for it. And when I heard that JFK Jr. had died, Dan Rather broke. You could tell he was trying to hold it together. And him trying to hold it together made me break a little bit, right? I didn't know JFK Jr., of course, obviously, but that level of emotion. But they vilified Walter Cronkite because he's supposed to be an unbiased, straight-laced newsman. And so when we get into these personalities of CNN and Fox, and they become their own stars in their own right, it skews how we're talking about things. And I think we also,
I can't listen to the news anymore because I don't want to hear the tonality and the aggression and the off the comments and the opinion. Like, I don't want to hear that. Let me read it. I'm trying not to be in an echo chamber, so I'm like, I laugh at Fox News headlines because I already know it's bait, and I just rewrite it in my mind to tell her the truth. But I
want some level of engagement, but I just think that we've gone so far.
Yeah.
We've just gone too far. But yeah, you're right. You cut it off. Watch the Olympics. And that's what I've been doing the last couple
of so it's just a lot of misinformation, not just but even sharing, like I'm like, are we really this vain and ignorant as a country? The Olympic Games. Oh, they're now I'm a church girl to my heart.
I know.
Formal communion, Black Jesus, grandparents got Black Jesus and with the Ten Commandments on the wall. I see, the Olympics is mocking the Last Supper. And I'm like, this doesn't seem right. So I scroll past and I start to see, I hate seeing people, this is a mockery and they're not gonna, I believe in the Last Supper. And one, Christian's not the only religion in the world. Two, it was in France. They're celebrating their own heritage history. Three, the Last Supper was not drawn in the Bible times. It was not, they didn't sit for it. They didn't sit for it.
Leonardo da Vinci's.
Years after it happened, he was not. Right. So it's not even biblically accurate. It is an artistic interpretation. It is not Bible. So we don't know if they're sitting in that order. We don't know if that was the colors that they were wearing.
Nope.
We don't know if Jesus had long hair. A little bit like skin for me. But
he had hair lamb's wool as far as the scripture says. But okay. Mm-hmm.
So they have all this LGBTQ stuff and drag queens. And I'm like, this isn't right. I kept saying it. I kept saying it. And I started to do my own research because I knew it wasn't right. And of course it wasn't.
Mm.
It was a depiction of what was made it funny for me in Louisiana with Mardi Gras and a French culture and a French heritage.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It was oh man, what was I can't even think of the Mardi Gras Bacchus.
Mm.
Bacchus is one of the biggest parades in New Orleans. This is one of the biggest
Yes,
crews.
I've marched that parade.
There are people who are drunk as a skunk with their beads on a Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I have marched that parade. Yes.
They're the main ones that say you go to parades and you worship for all intents and purposes. Worship
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Bacchus. This is the Bacchus. This is who that was created from, and you didn't even recognize it. Like you just thought that it's just somebody just created this. No, it's history. It was
And
all about the river they were on. It was all about drag queens. Women could not act in stage play, so men had to dress up in women's clothing.
right. That's right. And a Mississippi company immediately pulled out of their sponsorship because it was mocking the Last Supper.
Something that's fake. I'm sorry, it's not fake. It is not even biblical. It has nothing to do with that painting has nothing to do with the Bible. And it had nothing. And once you saw the whole picture, it was a whole table full of people. Like, why the Last Supper? There was not a little blue man sitting on the table. Why would they pick that to mock it?
It's again, it is the knee jerk. It is the knee jerk reactions. They acted like about that just as they did during graduation of in the last academic year.
Yeah.
All these knee jerk reactions
on misinformation. It's just like, but people kept sharing it and they kept sharing it, just like they shared that the boxer, I forgot where she's from, was transgender. That was a lie. And
That's
so
right.
now she's getting attacked for something that it was all a lie. But it spread so quickly. I keep saying, oh, Kamala locked up a whole bunch of instead of Francisco. Like they never said right. And I've heard black men, educated black men, have retorted that when she was VP. Oh, I don't know about that Kamala. You like Rihanna.
Oh, okay then.
And
okay.
you say she black.
Right.
I was like, there's not even a whole bunch of black Jews in San Francisco.
No.
I knew that when I even doing the research. I knew that was a lot.
But I want her to do her job. You know, when you are in leadership, you have to do the work. You have to do the job. You may not agree with it, but did she put some people away who should have been put away? You want them off the street, or do you want them trying to break into your car?
But that's the misinformation, and we have because it's such a thin line that I know that's how I'm using proven that Russia heavily influenced African Americans through dumb articles and things, and that was one of the lies that they told in the last election.
Yeah.
But what they didn't say is they called her the social worker attorney because she did so many social programs to stop the overcharging and recidivism and all this other great stuff to make sure people got a fair shake. So how can she keep locking people up? Like how can two things be true?
Right.
They wanted us to believe she's locking up black people.
Yeah.
They told everybody else she was soft on crime. Two lies to impact how we think. And we're the main ones that's spreading it. Which I'm like, y'all keep saying this. I don't care. I mean, I shouldn't say that.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you how the devil works, because now we're both frozen and we don't look cute.
Oh Lord. Well, let's wrap this up. We stay away. Our episodes go long. We're not gonna stay away. But thank y'all so much. I won't say what I was gonna say. Thank y'all so much. Please continue to, if you are working higher education, we support you. We salute you. If you're on the front lines, have a great academic year, start academic year. We're here if you want to vent, if you want to talk, because we understand, right? So thank you so much for joining us. Tune in for our 10th episode. Maybe we'll have a special surprise, or maybe we'll just be happy to record on time and get this episode out. So visit us on allegedlyhigher.com. Tell your friends to follow us, share this episode. Comment. I think you can comment on Spotify. We want to hear what y'all have to say. We want to hear things that y'all want to talk about. So we want to start a community of everybody. Pretty soon we're going to have a newsletter that's going to kick up where you can get more of our content, things we don't have a chance to talk about. So thank you all so much. And until next time, take care.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. This episode was sponsored by Holistic Higher Ed Solutions, committed to enhancing student success. From coaching to planning, our practitioners empower institutions. Ready to transform? Visit holisticheredsolutions.com and let's revolutionize higher ed together. Be sure to subscribe, review, and join us next time.